Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure and honor to address esteemed audience during the 41st session of United Nations Human Rights Council, and I would like to extend sincere welcome to each and every one of you and wish every success in the course of this session. I'm particularly delighted to speak on the issue of human rights of internally displaced persons because my country, Azerbaijan, hosts one of the highest caseloads of refugees and IDPs in the world. In general, the topic of people forcibly expelled from their homes, from their lands of origin, is very high on the agenda of international community as one of the most urgent and complicated issues. We share the view that this phenomenon is truly a multi-dimensional and cross-cutting, and as it was stated by UN Secretary General Mr. Antonio Guterres during UN General Assembly session, the problem is not refugees, internally displaced persons or migrants. The problem lies in conflict, persecution and hopeless poverty. Indeed, while the number fleeing their homes has reached unprecedented 71 million persons, we see no solutions in sight for too many unresolved conflicts that continue to produce displacement and human sufferings. While the plight of refugees and migrants makes the deadlines, the international community must also keep in mind millions of internally displaced persons, women and children, made extremely vulnerable by conflicts and who still find themselves in protected situations in different corners of the globe. According to UNHCR, the number of IDPs reached 41 million all over the world, and it's almost double the number of 25 million at a time when UN guiding principles on internal displacement were adopted 20 years ago. Azerbaijan fully supports all efforts to raise the visibility to suffering of IDPs, and references to IDPs in 2030 agenda, the goal set by Agenda for Humanity to reduce internal displacement by at least 50% by 2030, and as well as New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants, which notes the need for reflection on effective strategies to ensure adequate protection and assistance to IDPs, of course, clearly right steps, but not sufficient. The grave situation of millions of IDPs requires strong attention and addressing root causes and concerted actions at all levels. We believe that Human Rights Council should also be used as a platform for elaborating a comprehensive response addressing the protection of the rights of internally displaced persons. Azerbaijan's sensitivities to IDPs' causes are clearly understandable. Displacement in my country is a consequence of the ongoing military aggression and occupation of Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 adjacent districts of Azerbaijan, which resulted in almost 1 million of refugees and IDPs, 250,000 refugees who were forced to flee their homes in Armenia and found refuge in Azerbaijan, nearly 700,000 internally displaced persons who were forced to flee their homes from Nagorno-Karabakh and 7 adjacent districts, and plus 50,000 Meskheti Turks who found refuge in Azerbaijan following the events in Central Asia. So at the beginning of crisis in the early 1990s, immediately after gaining independence, Azerbaijan found itself in the midst of military conflict compounded with economic disarray and plus an influx of such a big army of refugees and IDPs. And at that time, the economy did not have sufficient financial resources to cater for the needs of displaced, and if there had been no assistance on the part of international humanitarian community, multilateral donors and single donors, the country would have faced a real humanitarian catastrophe, and for which we are always thankful and grateful to all international organizations, particularly United Nations, single donor countries, which renders us hand of assistance at the most critical period of Azerbaijan's history. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the activities undertaken by the government and state of Azerbaijan in terms of addressing problems of IDPs and refugees. And these activities can be characterized in two directions. The first, temporary improvement of living conditions of IDPs in the places where they are currently residing until political solution to the conflict, Armenia-Azerbaijan Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, is found, which could enable IDPs to exercise their fundamental right to return in safety and dignity, in an informed manner and a voluntary basis. So the government of Azerbaijan has done a lot to alleviate sufferings of this most vulnerable group and continues to do so both in legal and socio-economic fields. 34 laws have been adopted by national parliament, including 3 which are of particular relevance to the issue of IDPs and refugees. It's a law on citizenship, according to which refugees from Armenia have been granted with Azerbaijani citizenship and integrated into society, a law on refugees and IDP status, and law on social protection of IDPs and persons equated to them. At the beginning of crisis, thousands of people have been scattered across the country and had to live in dire conditions in tent camps, rail wagons, dugouts, different types of unfinished buildings which fall short of minimal standard requirements for human living. And starting from 2001, the government of Azerbaijan embarked on an ambitious program, state program for improvement of living conditions and increase of employment opportunities, according to which until now 103 new residential settlements complexes have been erected across the country, and the government has managed to relocate as many as 58,000 families or 300,000 IDPs and provide them with improved living conditions on a temporary basis. Overall, as a result of activities again pursued by national authorities and international organizations, in the last 18 years' time, the poverty level among internally displaced persons dropped from 75 to 12%. In total, $7.4 billion worth was allocated for addressing social problems of internally displaced persons, out of which 3.4 billion were from state budget, and it's really it's a very heavy burden for the state. $2.3 billion were from state oil funds, and these resources were mainly addressed for construction of new settlements for IDPs, and the remaining 1.4 billion allocations from international organizations. But notwithstanding the exemplary care and attention rendered by government of Azerbaijan, the only durable solution to the problem of IDPs rests with the settlement of Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, which would enable internally displaced persons to exercise their basic fundamental right to return. And this view was also expressed in the reports made by UN Special Rapporteurs on human rights of IDPs in the course of their mission. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been dealing with the issue of IDPs for the last 25 years, 20 years as a UN official, as your ex-colleague, and for 5 years as a government official. And I would like to transmit the question which is posed by internally displaced persons on a daily basis: when can they return back to their native lands of origin? Until when are they going to remain as internally displaced persons? And why international community is turning a blind eye on restoration of their human rights? So I would like to underline once again that restoring justice for IDPs is a solid foundation for any longer-term peace and security. I would like to thank you once again for your attention and wish every success to the session. Thank you.